Thank you, Glenn. That's awesome. So this is a part of the Friday experiment from the 26th of July, 2019. And we're asking the questions, the 3 questions that are posed upon entry into the Global Challenges Collaboration Group. The second question being, do you have a vision for how things can work better collectively, or specific interventions, ideas, and projects that you think can affect important change? And no big deal, little question, and I open the floor.
All right, I'll go again. So yeah, yes, and yes. I do have ideas. I do. The first, I posed a question in GCC a while ago, and it was, I'm probably paraphrasing, but what would an economy designed to support the cultural creatives instead of big oil look like? And that was my framing question. And that's where all my ideas and everything else stem from.
Yeah, I like that question very much, except that you brought big oil into it, which is a completely different thing. The oligarchy is not going to give way. Countries, the advanced countries, rely on these oligarchies for our advancement. We are in charge of the oil, which gives us dominance over the rest of the planet, more or less. As for bringing out talents from various sectors of the community and on an individual level, we just have to tweak our education system to do that more, as we're less and less reliant on producing people to go and work in factories and or offices. So as automation progresses, we can do other things with our surplus brain power. I think I'm complete on that. The oligarchy is a big question that really has to stop straight away, and we have to within a very short space of time. I'm looking at about 1 to 5 years to change over completely to neutral, carbon neutral ways of using energy that's available to us. Oil and gas are they're killing us. I'm complete.
Yeah, I can chime in a little here. I think this is partly a response to the second question, partly a response to the question about cultural creatives. Well, first of all, do I have a vision? Yes. So maybe that's one of those that maybe we would consider to reformulate, because many of those who have answered it have only answered yes, and so it's actually a yes/no question. But of course, you can say more about it, but that's sort of optional. And I mean, for me, I have a vision. It's very clear. It's very everything very consistent, works together. At the same time, it's in some sense very far out of sort of the normal ideas about what could be a way for us to live. I mean, my vision is basically that we enter into something where we're in a totally different mind space altogether, and so it all rests on that as sort of the specifics of it. It's not complicated in any way, but it will sort of demand a different consciousness, you could say. So that brought me to another idea. It came up a little earlier as we spoke, and it's about well, the obstacle is the path. I mean, you've heard some people say that. So if you understand the obstacle well, then in a sense, you might actually be moving forward, right? So what is an obstacle? And one obstacle I see in terms of the cultural creatives is that many of them tend to be despised in some sense, because it has to do with us seeing it as a kind of an attack on who we are if someone suggests something that's totally different from anything I've ever considered. So it's a mechanism that effectively limits our scope of considering what's possible. And that's, for example, the criticism you get in sciences, for example, that even the most famous scientists, even Nobel Prize winners, can maybe just push things a little bit further. But if they propose anything really radical, they're going to be sort of punished, so to say. It's not going to be socially acceptable, and so if we could find out a way to communicate, how can I put it, really new ideas, or even just communicate criticism. Like, is there even a way to criticize? I mean, let's put it even simpler. Is there a way to criticize someone for even something simple that systematically works, that systematically leads to that person thinking, oh, okay, I would want to consider that. That's a good point. That's very interesting. Or will it be a counter reaction? Will there be some kind of self-defense thing? Will someone get insulted, for example? And this relates to the question of the cultural creatives, because the cultural creatives, they will want to challenge the status quo. They want to think far outside of the box, and there has to be a way for that to be fun instead of unpleasant. Let's put it that way. I'm a bit rambly today, sorry, but I think you're getting the gist of it, more or less. So.
Hello. So I posted a link in response to a video that Stacy posted about kids who are singing. And the link is an amazing person who 20 years ago had an idea that this poorest county in Pennsylvania, that he would reach out and give these kids something to do on the weekends to learn how to sing, and to put on a play at the end of the year. And then it just grew from there. And that's an organic idea. So I think we need to encourage the organic ideas that come from communities, and look at where are the success stories, and make those visible, and keep it positive. So that's the first step in awakening consciousness, a global consciousness. There's a lot of good out there that can be found. Yeah, thanks. I'm complete.
I love your thinker face, Doug.
Yeah, there's a lot going on in my head. There was sort of a convergence from several different people said around the idea of privacy, the idea of personal data and ownership, the idea of Stacy wanting to control access. And the flip side of that in other pieces of contribution related to being heard, having mechanism to be exposed, being seen, which is sharing, which is open, which is the opposite vector of all of those things. And what's that about? What's the tension in that? Now, I know my set point is open everything. My set point is there's nothing private. There's nothing about my life that I attach privacy importance to. And I've always felt that if somebody's preoccupied with keeping things private or secret, then what are they doing wrong? What are they doing to others? That it's always masking something that, if subjectively rooted in fear and shame, shouldn't be, or if objectively not okay on a values basis, then should be subject to the light of day. So this whole sort of thing, this is what's swirling. And it relates directly to these larger questions. And what is it about whether Facebook has my data or not? And it's not the access, it's not the knowing, it's the use. It's if it's exploitative, if it's extractive, right? That's the problem. And that's a fundamental value question. About, not on a choice duality basis, but on a unity value basis. Do we or do we not exploit, extract, consume others? Use others? And, so the fear underlying Stacy wanting to have awareness and control is her piece in the wrong hands. And that could be somebody who becomes a stalker, an aggressor, or an attacker on a personal one-to-one basis, or it could be somebody seeing in her work product as a result of 20 or 30 years, a vision for a practice and a modality of expression that they steal and convert, and all sorts of other possibilities that I could cook up from past life lawyer training, because that's all lawyers do, is think about the dark side, think about, the negative would, coulds, and shoulds. So, trying to get to like a core, a fundamental that universally underlies all of this stuff is what is happening, what was provoked in this session for me, and is living and happening for me right now. And with that, I'm complete. Sorry for the length of that, but it's a huge relief to be able to express it and get it out. um, and know that it's captured, by the way, because, yeah.
Thank you so much, Doug. Tees?
I don't feel I have much of a vision. I only see what's happening. So I see the small things like, say, reforestation. So I'm searching on reforestation. So, and I'm, say, I know the Triodos Bank in the Netherlands who is doing all investments in the green things and the cultural creatives. So I'm following this. So I'm not in the forefront. So my vision is more enabling, because I'm an investor a little bit in this bank. So that's all.
Thank you, Tees. For me, I definitely have a vision for how things can work better collectively. And this is my effort, how in having these kinds of conversations, in experimenting with how to have conversations that can increase our understanding, lift up ideas that are resonant and powerful and make sense, collective sense making. And really looking at the underpinnings of what's got us here so that we can determine interventions that can be enacted. So Stacy's question about redesigning the economy, that for me is central. I also wouldn't mix in big oil or even cultural creatives, because I don't know, back in the day when that book came out, they were like, you know what the thing about cultural creatives are? They don't want to be called cultural creatives. Or they don't want to be labeled, rather. So those of us who see another way and are motivated to make change happen for us to connect, understand what each other wants to do, find ways to be able to support each other in that, and to ever more create more understanding of what it is that we're trying to do in the first place. And for me, the sweet spot, the nexus where I focus my attention on is in the place where media, democracy, and the economy meet. So media and data, democracy and governance, and the economy, but also the ability to directly create value, which I think we do in these spaces. We directly create value to be seen, to be heard. You know, what all of us have had an opportunity to share today, all of those things I think are the practical steps towards better understanding by and between us, and to find those places where the missing linking happens that Stacy talked about in the first place. Stacy mentioned missing link, and I remember a few months ago, Stephanie Rarick came on and talked about the missing linking, and I think that that's the same idea. It's like the links between things are not as strong, and when we get better at that, then we're creating this space where a more whole understanding of what's happening can be had. So the interventions are in the practice of understanding each other, in really deeply listening and sharing the ideas that we have together, and then finding the ways that we can help each other to move our ideas forward, to test them, to experiment, to feedback on them. How did that feel? Did that work? Is there, a tweak we can do like Stacy has done today? Can we do this, but let's tweak it here. These things are ways for us to continuously be on a learning journey. And one thing that I would leave with or end with is that it's never going to be one person or one project or even one community that helps us to make the transition. It's all of us or none of us, as Doug has talked about. And so it's ever more inclusivity of perspective and opinion that's going to get us there. Because it's wholeness for me, that this is a whole thing. And even though it might be difficult for me to take on board that wholeness, that whole enchilada, the effort gives me the capacities to be able to understand other people's perspectives that I would perhaps reject at first sight, that have something valuable in it, and allows a something bigger than what I can, what I constrain by my capacity to understand. So I'm glad that was recorded, so I can check that out and see what I said. But for now, thank you, everyone. Is there any final thoughts or feedback on how this little section went for us? I open the floor.
Well, yeah, Tammy, I agree. Thank goodness that you recorded that, because we all should go back and look at what you just said. First, I want to just say I love what you said about the learning journey. I could not agree more. I also want to really, really say this very clearly. And I'm speaking for myself, but I'm also giving my opinions for other people. Were it not for you, personally, Tammy, creating this space and this kind of a forum where we play and test out different ways, none of this would be happening. And I just can't say that enough. That's in terms of the bigger part. In terms of you and I, you have been invaluable to my growth, and I will always be grateful for that. And I know you can hear, I know that you hear me, and you own that. And I really love you, and I just want to say that. And of course there's more, but of course there's more, because I wouldn't be me. Okay, so any of the engineering people, please correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm of the understanding that input equaling output would equal flow. And so if that's correct, then I would say that I try to pay attention to the energy in terms of give something, get something, ask something, tell something. And that's what I'm going to do now. So first of all, I have one question. I don't know if Eric's still there, because I had a question for him. So, real quick question. You're going to have to unmute yourself. Can you tell me the city or town in Pennsylvania where those kids are?
Okay, it's Chester. The town is Chester, Pennsylvania.
Okay, thank you.
You got it.
And because I asked something, now I'm going to say something. Doug, in answer to your question in terms of agency and when and why and how and all those things, I'm going to say timing is everything. And that's my answer for that. I had a couple of suggestions for words that I would change in terms of collaboration. So instead of saying, I wouldn't do it this way, or I wouldn't say it this way, I would probably change it to, I'm not sure I would do it this way, or I probably would not do it that way, because if you don't say it that way, you've closed a door. And we don't know what we don't know until we get there. And that is, for me, I think that's the only absolute. There will always be something I don't know. And I'm going to say, if I have to pick one thing that's absolute, that's the absolute truth. And finally, Tammy, did you get the picture I sent you?
Not yet. I don't think so.
Oh
Was
my
it just,
goodness.
was it just now or?
I sent it to you a while ago and I said, when I cue you, please share it because, again, as part of my process to stay in flow and allow everybody else to do their own thing, I had sent you something. I'm going to send it again. So maybe by the end of it, because it was really for everybody. I'll try it again. Tammy Lee. Send.
I think I have it. Is it a drawing?
It's a picture for everybody.
Great.
And you can just put it up on the screen and everybody could do what they want with it. Eric, this is especially for you to use in your work if it's helpful at all. Can't wait to see what it looks like on the big screen. Da-da-da-dum. So that's basically what I was drawing as all of you were speaking. And it's love is all you need. Love is the answer. The rainbow of all of our unique differences. And, you know, the question I had for Eric, what I wanted to tell Doug. And I didn't have to be afraid that I would lose any of it. Because usually the reason I interrupt all the time, and I really hate interrupting because I don't like when it happens to me, and it always causes a lot of stress for me because I'm trying to figure out what's more important. Shut up, don't say it. Oh, but, and it's so hard. And my thing is, why does it have to be hard? It doesn't. So with that, I'm complete and grateful. And what more can I think I'm done, but we have to have a song at the end because Jaswinder reminded. So before you go, let's signal and we'll come up with a song. I have a few in mind, but it'll be a choice.
Any other thoughts or reflections on this segment?
Well, I got a little reflection. I mean, it's a general reflection, really, but it relates to this segment too. Building on this with input and output and flow. One thing I'd like to sometimes see more of is if we can ask questions and answer in less than 5 minutes or so. But yeah, a little bit like questions and answers. If that could somehow be put into this, maybe the only thing I'm feeling is missing. Apart from that, it's great stuff, great things people are sharing, and very important issues. So it's always helpful to understand it better.
Thanks, Glenn. Any other thoughts? Okay, if you want to stop recording, that'd be fantastic.
No,
Thanks.
not yet, not yet.
Okay, great. Go for it.
This is the fun that we'll share. This is the fun part that we'll share so people know what they're missing if they don't do the whole thing. So to Glenn, he wants more questions. So here's my question for you, all of you. 3 choices of what we're going to sing our way out of this with. And they are So Many Colors of the Rainbow, which I was in the process, I have no idea who sings it. It's the one that goes, there are so many colors of the rainbow. That's one choice. The other choice is Color My World from Chicago. And the last one is Somewhere Over the Rainbow. So if you put up 1, 2, 3, I'll give you the choices again. Number 1, So Many Colors in the Rainbow, or of the rainbow. I didn't have a chance to look it up yet. If you want that, put up a 1. Speak now. I see no ones. Number 2, Color My World by Chicago. Put up a 2 if you want that one. Oh, okay. And number 3, Somewhere Over the Rainbow, which by default I think is going to be the winner. But could you put up a 3 if that's the one you want to sing out of? I see 1, I see 2. And again, nobody has to sing. Nobody has to sing. But whenever you're ready, Tammy, unmute everybody. Who's the music person here? Oh, Eric's the music person here. I forgot about that. Eric, when she unmutes us, can you lead us in Somewhere Over the Rainbow?
Yeah, I'm at work. But
Yeah, I would ask that everybody unmute themselves It's a lot of clicking for me to do everyone, and everyone's empowered.
It's actually smarter. It's a better idea, Tammy. Thank you. I appreciate that. Much better idea.
Okay, well, let's try it. It's an
Wait,
experiment.
can I just one thing? Jaswinder, I just want to call attention to the fact that you're muted, just in case you don't realize that you're muted. I would love if you sang with us, considering it was your suggestion to always sing. Thank you. Okay, I'm ready.
Okay, here we are. Lead us, Stacy.
Eric, you want to do it with me together?
Oh, I'm at work, so.
Oh, I forgot. Okay. Okay. 1, 2, 3. Oh, I'm not going to be able to hit the notes, so I might back out, but somewhere
under the rainbow,
way
up
high, there's a land that I've heard of once in a lullaby. Somewhere over the rainbow, bluebirds fly. Birds fly over the rainbow. Why, oh, why can't we at GCC flitter, 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 flutter, flutter, flitter, flutter. Thank you, everybody. Mwah, mwah, mwah.
Thank you. And we're complete, Glenn.
Yes, we are. For now.